Hello and welcome back to RC Icons. So in today's video, I want to get the trf211XM out and running. So I got this car recently from my friend Martin in Switzerland. I've actually got a new chassis coming for it. So the chassis that's on it is pretty well scratched, and I'll bring the camera over like usual to show you the car. So yeah, Martin's sending me a new chassis for the car, but I want to get radio gear in it and I want to run it before the chassis comes, because when I do the chassis swap, that's going to be the end of this car. I bought it essentially just for the shelf, not as a runner. With that being said, it's not very vintage. This car was released in the the late teens. If I had to guess, I want to say somewhere around. Is it written on here? I have the manual here, but I want to say it was 2015. So it's 7 years old, right? It's not a vintage buggy, but it is one heck of a looker. I never really thought the 211 was really never on my radar. I have a 201 that's never been run that's built. I actually have another 201 on its way. I'm not sure when you'll see this video. You'll probably see the unboxing of the new 201 before you see this running video. But I've only bought it because it's got the Exotech chassis extension on it. And I had kind of a long story. I'll explain it in that 201 video. This will be my second 201 with the Exotech. I actually sent Glenn the first one. The car was a basket case. Happened to have the Exotech on it. Glenn needed a chassis to do a XM XR conversion, so I sent him that car, but I didn't want to take the Exotech off of it because he was looking for an Exotech. And at the time, again, I really didn't care, but like everything else, once I send it, I want it. So I ended up sourcing another one, which is cool. But anyways, back to the 211. So yeah, I want to get, this thing is supposed to be an epic runner. It's a very simple car. There's not much to it. Alloy gearbox. Transmission on these is known for being butter smooth, and this one does not disappoint. It is absolutely butter smooth. Just a real awesome two-wheel drive buggy, and I'm excited to get it out running, just to see what it'll do. Big bore aeration shocks. It's got a great spec on the car. We're running 77 tooth pin spur with a 24 tooth pinion, and that's the stock setup from the manual. It's a 48 DP, which is like an 8.56 gear ratio if I remember right. But yeah, so the point of this video is to get it running so that when the new chassis comes in, I can give you guys a video of the chassis swap. We may do a new body for it, although I love the look of this the way it is, even with the wing that doesn't match. I do have at least one, if not two, sheets of the blue and silver or mirror finish TRF decals. I just don't know that I want to use any off of those sheets to do a new body, and this is one of those cars that just screams the blue and mirror. So I'll probably end up just leaving this alone. The shell was cut a little bit short in the back, although I want to show you in the manual, one page shows it cut like this, and then the very next page shows it with another 10 mil left on the back. So it was really an error on Tamia's part, and unfortunately the page that shows it cut is before the page that shows it not cut in the manual, so almost everybody cuts this shell wrong. But it's per the manual. So yeah, let me bring the camera over. We'll show you this car real quick. I'll show you the gear that I have going into the car, and we'll get it ready to go. Alright, so now that I got you in a position where you can see, so this is the car, right? It's a very modern design. It's got a carbon rear shock tower, plastic front shock tower. It's got all the blue alloy, big bore aeration, and then you can see the bottom of that chassis is just run. Not beat, just run. It's got all the titanium screws, and then When we pop the body off. So I've got a 2-cell lipo in there right now. I was just testing fitment of it. I put my pink Acto Power motor from the Dynablaster is what I'm going to throw in this. Don't blow up the comments. I know that the Dynastorm came out in what, like 93? And that's essentially when the pink Acto Power had come out, somewhere around 90-ish. And this is a 2015 car. I get it. I get it. But we're still going to run the pink Acto Power just because it was easy. It's, you know, it's already got wires soldered on it. It's more than enough power for what I want to put through this thing. So I put the 24 tooth pinion, deep 48 DP pitch, slipper clutches underneath. There's a window so that you can tighten your slipper clutch like most cars with slippers. It's running Proline shadows in the rear and front. So it's got a full set of Proline shadows on it. The diff feels absolutely phenomenal. Feels great. So yeah, all that's left really to do is pop a servo in this thing, a receiver, and a mechanical speed control, and we're off and running. So we're going to use 1060, my standard setup. I just got a bunch more of JX shallow, which is what I typically like to use. I'm going to have to see if this is going to work. I may have to shim this servo up a little bit just so that the battery wires will work, just because my battery's a little bit long. I do have some 3S shorties, but I don't have a 2S shorty. So if I shim that forward a little bit, it should work fine. I have a few 3S shorties, but I don't have a 2S shorty. And the only 2S Tamiya batteries that I have are these Peak Power. And they always have a tendency to mess with me a little bit because they're just they're like 5 mil too long. Yet the shape is correct. So I'm obviously not going to start trimming the car to make this battery work. I'm just going to make my servo sit a little bit further forward. I think there's plenty of room on the horn for that to happen. So that's how it's going to go. And then the receiver we're using obviously is my FlySky Noble MB4 Pro. So I'm going to get started. Oh, what I wanted to show you in here. So in the manual, on this page, it shows the body cut exactly like mine. On the cut page, it shows it with that extra 10 mil on the back. And that extra 10 mil actually comes back and hits the back of this transmission, this alloy transmission housing. And it helps to keep the dirt out. But everybody cuts out the body to spec with the flap, and then they get to the next page where it starts showing you mounting the body, and they end up trimming it off. I've seen it 100 times. If this was extended, that extra 10 mil, it would almost completely seal on the car. You can see when I put the body on, you can see this space here. That 10 mil would reach all the way back to this section of gear case if it was there. So if you guys are ever doing a 211 body, make sure you leave that 10 mil of body on. It does serve a purpose. But in the book, Tamiya, you know, it shows you both ways. Look at the steering angle on that thing. I'm looking forward to running this. It's going to be awesome. So yeah, let me get the radio gear in it. And we'll go from there. you kind of have to have the battery sitting in place because the radio gear is supposed to sit on top of the battery support. So I kind of need to have it all ready to go essentially, because trying to put a battery in after the fact is going to be a pain. I know I can get the receiver in no problem. It's going to be the speed control. It's the pain. There's no way it will fit on the side, I don't think, with the battery in place. If I can get it in that way, I'm going to do it that way though. I don't think the body would clear it though. It's probably going to have to go on top. Enough jabber. Let me get this stuff put in and I'll bring you back when I can show you it running, and then we're going to get it outside. So I figured it out. Because I use this battery on different cars, and this isn't the only car that's set up to run, I'm actually trying to get a lot of running videos done here before winter hits. I still have to zip tie the wires, but essentially the ESC and the receiver come out with the battery plate if I need the battery. You can see on the servo, there's 8 washers in here in between the servo and the servo mount to push the servo forward enough for the battery to fit in there snug. But with everything in place, my servo arms still work perfect. And then my throttle. This thing's gonna fly. That Acto Power is, I never realized how punchy that Acto Pink really is. I love it with the 2-wheel drive cars. It was absolutely awesome in the Dynablaster. And I know this is going to be too. So, yeah, so that's it. I'm going to get the body on here. I'll show it to you with the body on before the wires are kind of zip tied and cleaned up. But everything fits. Of course, there's no driver figure in a TRF car, so we don't have to worry about that. But everything fits in there nice. You can kind of see it through the window, but it's not pushing up on the body at all. So yeah, that's going to work out great. I'm probably going to adjust these rear shocks a little bit just because I've got a little bit of rear rake. Put some preload in it. That doesn't look terrible. So yeah, I'll see you outside in a second, and we'll see what the trf211XM can do. See you in a minute. We're out today with the Tamiya 2RF211 from 2015. So this is sporting a pink Acto Tune motor, which I know is not period correct. Look at the steering angle on that thing. But it's good enough. I want to run this car once before I do the restoration, which really is just a chassis swap. Just so that you guys can see it, because once it's swapped over, it's going with the other TRF cars on the shelf. It's probably going to be a little bit dicey on the tire. Track straight as an arrow. It's got more of a tire on it, not a buggy tire, like a spike tire. So it's obviously going to get crazy grip. If you look at the tires, they're more of like an asphalt tire. So this car is going to fly. 14 turn motor in it. It just responds so smooth. That's what you would expect with a TRF car. Looks great in the sun. It may be torn. I may have to keep this as a runner. not change this chassis over. This thing is awesome. So much fun. It flies. Turns on a dime. Almost hit myself. Getting a little crazy with it. Typical Keith. Light runs. This thing must have been crazy. On a carpet track or something, like forget it. Those big bore shocks, it just handles. You see it turn and it barely has any body roll at all. It just turns. All right, let's get her in the dirt. See what she does. Awesome. So we're at location 2 with the trf211XM from 2015. Whoa, this is gonna be greasy. So these tires I showed you in the last clip are somewhat bald. And you can tell. No grip at all. Wow, I can't even get this thing to move. Absolutely awesome on the tire. It's like being on ice. I need to at least put a set of dual blocks on this thing, I think. All right, let me change the tires and I'll bring you back with some traction. All right, so we're back. I got a brand new set of dual blocks on the back. I couldn't change the fronts because they're glued, and that's the only set of 211 wheels I have. The 211 and the 201 have a different front wheel set because of the way that the screw holds them on. So let's see if we get some traction here. Oh, now we get some traction. Still a little dicey because I got those wheels in the front. Have no grip at all. Definitely better though. Car is crazy fast. That pink Acto Power in there. It's definitely better than it was, but it's still a little dicey with those fronts the way they are. I'd hate to be trying to run it on a track. I'd be all over the place. The car is an awesome car though. This thing on carpet must have been insane. I'm pretty sure Dennis runs a 211. He runs all kinds of X-Team driver cars, and I'm gonna have to try to get these tires off and put a different set on there. Those ribbed ones that I got from Martin are probably better for this, but I didn't feel like getting out acetone and dealing with all that just for this. So we'll get through this run-in video the way it is. The dual blocks are getting plenty of grip though. It's leaving marks all over the place. The ground's a little bit frozen still, so. Suspension is awesome. Oh, light bulb cut off. Battery's dead now. Yeah, totally smoked. That's gonna do it for the TRF211. Ran pretty good, short of not having traction. Kind of is what it is. So I'll see you back in the studio for closing. So I hope you guys enjoyed that little run of the 211XM. I sure did. The tarmac run was unreal. This thing stuck to the tar like glue. But the tires are more of a tarmac tire, so that's that makes sense. This thing must have been awesome on either tire or on a carpet. It just handled, right? Get it on the dirt, it's like being on ice. Couldn't run the car at all at first. Came back in, swapped to the dual blocks in the back. So the fronts are glued. Those are going to have to get acetoned off. If I wanted to change the tires to a rib tire. These wheels are extremely hard to find now. The 201 wheels, the 211 wheels, any of the TRF 2 series wheels are extremely, extremely hard because it's a bearing and then the screw goes into the axle. It's a hollow axle, so it's kind of it's a different setup and it's a different wheel. It's not like your normal TRF dished wheels. You can find those anywhere, but the 2 series wheels are extremely hard to find. So it kind of is what it is. I can put the rib tires on and I could run it again, but in all honesty, I bought this thing for the shelf more than anything. It does run awesome, but you got to remember this car came out in 2015, and I'll be honest, I think I'm going to make a bold statement here. I think the TD2 with all of the hop-ups, not necessarily big bore shocks, but the regular aeration shocks would probably run just as good. It's just my opinion. Now, I'm finishing my TD2 as we speak. The chassis is done. The body is masked and ready for paint. It's not a car that I filmed, although I may show it on film at some point. It's one that I built off camera. I do build cars off camera, cars you'll never see. You might see in a running video here or there or in a collection video, but they're not cars that I actually showcase on the channel. And that just happens to be one of them. I'm finishing up a TB05R, same situation. That one you'll see the body in a finishing video, just because I'm working on liquid mask and paint, and it's more to showcase that than the car itself, although that TB05R chassis is something to be seen. So the reason I bring that up, so I was thinking about this while I was out there. I bought it essentially to retire it, right? But I had so much fun with it, and you can absolutely see the potential in the car that you're like, well, I might just want to keep running that, right? Well, that's the whole reason I bought the TD2, was to have like a nice 2-wheel drive runner. I think the TD2 would run just as nice as this, to be completely honest. But we'll see. I'm sure people are going to blow up the comments saying, how can you compare a TRF 211XM to a TD2? I mean, there's 7 years in separation there as far as R&D. And I honestly think the TD4 and the TD2 chassis are great chassis with the lay-down shocks and everything. I think if you put the hop-ups on and you run those cars, you'll see that they are awesome chassis. So yeah, we'll have to see. We'll get the TD2 finished. You will see this car again, though. We've got to put a new chassis on it. I've got a new chassis for it. I've got a couple of bodies for it, but at some point we're going to paint up a new body for this. Probably more in TRF colors, although I love the look of this one. I think Martin did a great job with the decals. Although the windows are done in decal, and I want that done in paint. So we'll see it again. We're going to do a new body for it. We're going to clean it up. Try to find some new wheels for it. Rears are easy, fronts are next to impossible, so we'll have to see if we can source some new fronts. We'll get the new chassis on it, and it'll probably get retired to the shelf. We'll have to see. If I don't get to it this winter, I may run it again next spring before I do all this, but we'll have to see. At some point it's definitely going to get retired, so for now we're done with it. So I hope you enjoyed the running video of it, and if you're not already subscribed and have your notifications turned on, make sure you do so you don't miss any of our future videos, as well as the restoration of the TRF 211XM from 2015. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.